You step onto the cold bathroom scale, holding your breath and praying for a lower number. You have been perfectly disciplined for an entire week by skipping breakfast and eating tiny salads. You have endured the agonizing stomach growls and fought off every single craving with pure willpower. You look down at the digital display expecting to see the ultimate reward for your suffering. But instead of dropping, the number on the scale has actually gone up by 2 pounds. A heavy wave of frustration washes over you as you wonder what you are doing wrong. You are eating practically nothing, but your body is somehow getting softer and heavier every day. The fitness industry has conditioned you to believe that weight loss is simple mathematics. They repeat the endless mantra of simply eating less and moving more to achieve your goals. But what if I told you that intentionally starving yourself is the absolute fastest way to gain body fat? What if the very diets designed to shrink your waistline are biologically programming your body to store massive amounts of fat? Today, we are going to tear apart the most dangerous deception in the modern weight loss industry. We will dive deep into the hidden microscopic architecture of your cellular metabolism and hormonal pathways. We will uncover exactly how extreme calorie restriction actively destroys your highly valuable muscle tissue. By the end of this journey, you will finally understand why your body fights you so hard. And most importantly, you will learn the exact scientific protocol to heal your broken metabolism forever. The ancient survival code. To understand why starvation makes you fatter, we must travel back thousands of years into human history. Your physical body is an incredibly advanced biological machine shaped by brutal evolutionary environments. For the vast majority of human existence, food was extremely scarce and incredibly difficult to obtain. Our ancient ancestors survived devastating winters, severe droughts, and prolonged periods of absolute famine. Through natural selection, the human body developed a flawless biological defense system to prevent starvation. Your genetics are specifically optimized to fiercely protect your stored energy whenever food availability drops. When you suddenly slash your daily calories to lose weight, you think you are going on a summer diet. But your deeply primitive brain interprets this sudden drop in food as a catastrophic environmental famine. Your hypothalamus does not know that you live down the street from a fully stocked grocery store. It believes the crops have failed, the winter has arrived, and you are in imminent danger of starving to death. The moment you aggressively restrict your calories, a massive biological alarm violently triggers inside your brain. Your body immediately shifts out of normal functioning and enters a highly guarded state of metabolic conservation. It launches a coordinated hormonal and physiological counterattack designed solely to keep you alive. This ancient survival protocol is the exact reason why forcing yourself to starve will completely backfire. The destruction of the metabolic engine. The absolute most devastating consequence of a starvation diet is the destruction of your basal metabolic rate. Your basal metabolic rate represents the total number of calories your body burns just to stay alive. This includes the massive energy required to beat your heart, expand your lungs, and power your brain. In a healthy individual, this background energy burn accounts for roughly 70% of all daily calories expended. When your brain registers a severe calorie deficit, it immediately begins auditing your body for energy waste. Just like a smart home powering down non-essential lights, your brain starts reducing non-essential biological functions. The first thing your body does is lower your core internal body temperature to conserve vital thermal energy. This is exactly why people on extreme crash diets frequently complain of freezing hands and cold feet. Next, your brain subconsciously suppresses your non-exercise activity thermogenesis without you even realizing it. You will naturally stop fidgeting, you will blink less often, and you will feel an overwhelming sense of lethargy. Your body is literally forcing you to sit still and move less to prevent further energy depletion. But the metabolic shutdown becomes much darker and more destructive as the starvation continues over several weeks. Your thyroid gland, which acts as the master thermostat of your entire metabolism, dramatically reduces hormone production. The active thyroid hormone known as T3 plummets, causing every single cell in your body to slow its energy production. As your cellular engines power down, your basal metabolic rate completely crashes to match your new low-calorie intake. If you were previously burning 2,000 calories a day, your body will adapt to burn only 1,200. You have successfully trained your biological machinery to survive on absolutely nothing. This means that your brutal starvation diet has now become your new baseline maintenance requirement just to avoid gaining weight. The muscle massacre. As your body desperately tries to balance its energy checkbook, it makes a terrifying biological decision. It must find a way to significantly lower the daily operating costs of keeping you alive. Body fat is biologically cheap to maintain because it simply sits there acting as a passive storage unit. Muscle tissue, on the other hand, is highly active, extremely expensive, and burns massive amounts of calories around the clock. From an evolutionary survival standpoint, carrying excess muscle during a famine is a deadly liability. When you deprive your body of adequate nutrition, it realizes it can no longer afford to maintain your muscle mass. Your body initiates a highly destructive biochemical process known to medical science as gluconeogenesis. It actively begins breaking down your precious skeletal muscle tissue and converting the amino acids into glucose for brain fuel. You are literally eating your own muscles from the inside out just to keep your nervous system functioning. When you step on the scale after 2 weeks of starving and see that you have lost 5 pounds, you celebrate. But you are celebrating the catastrophic loss of water, weight, bone density, and metabolically active muscle tissue. You have not actually lost any significant amount of the stubborn body fat that you wanted to get rid of. By destroying your own muscle mass, you have permanently lowered your biological capacity to burn calories in the future. When you lose muscle, your metabolic engine physically shrinks, making it mathematically impossible to maintain weight loss. This is the hidden tragedy of extreme dieting that the fitness industry completely ignores. You might end up looking smaller in your clothes, but your actual body fat percentage has significantly increased. You have become a smaller, much softer, and metabolically damaged version of your former self. The hormonal hijacking. While your physical metabolism is slowing down, a violent chemical war is erupting inside your brain. Your appetite is not controlled by your personal willpower or your conscious desire to look good in a swimsuit. Your hunger is entirely dictated by a highly complex interplay of powerful primitive survival hormones. The two most critical hormones in this chemical symphony are leptin and ghrelin, which dictate your eating behavior. Leptin is the beautiful hormone of satiety produced directly by your specialized fat cells. When you have adequate energy stores, leptin travels to your brain and signals that you are full and safe. But when you aggressively cut calories, your fat cells rapidly decrease their normal production of leptin. The sudden drop in leptin circulating in your bloodstream screams to your brain that you are actively starving. Simultaneously, your empty stomach begins pumping out massive quantities of a highly aggressive hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin is the chemical messenger of severe hunger, and it is nearly impossible to ignore for very long. As ghrelin floods your central nervous system, it directly stimulates the primal reward centers of your brain. It creates an intense, overwhelming, and obsessive psychological fixation on high-calorie, high-carbohydrate foods. You cannot stop thinking about pizza, donuts, fresh bread, and ice cream, no matter how hard you try to distract yourself. This is not a failure of your personal discipline or a sudden lack of moral character. This is your biology completely overriding your psychology to force you to seek out life-saving calories. Fighting against elevated ghrelin is like trying to hold your breath underwater indefinitely. Eventually, your primal survival instincts will take over and force you to gasp for absolute survival. The cortisol catastrophe. Starving yourself places your entire physical system under an unimaginable amount of biological stress. Your body responds to this perceived famine by chronically elevating the production of a primary stress hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is produced by your adrenal glands and is designed to help you survive acute life-threatening emergencies. In short bursts, cortisol is highly beneficial because it mobilizes stored energy for you to fight or run away. But when you remain in a severe calorie deficit for weeks, your cortisol levels remain chronically elevated. Chronically high cortisol creates a highly toxic internal environment that completely halts normal fat-burning pathways. More terrifyingly elevated cortisol specifically commands your body to relocate stored fat from your arms and legs. It instructs your biology to aggressively deposit this fat directly into the deep visceral cavity of your abdomen. This deep visceral fat wraps tightly around your liver, your heart, and your vital digestive organs. Your body stores fat in your belly because it provides immediate energy access for your vital organs during a prolonged famine. This is why you can starve yourself endlessly, but never seem to lose that stubborn ring of belly fat. Your diet is actively creating the exact hormonal environment required to build a highly dangerous layer of stomach fat. Furthermore, chronic cortisol causes severe water retention, which completely masks any potential fat loss on the bathroom scale. You feel chronically bloated, exhausted, highly irritable, and completely defeated by your lack of visible progress. The neurology of the inevitable binge. Eventually, the biological pressure of extreme dieting reaches an absolute breaking point inside your nervous system. Your willpower acts like a battery, and after weeks of constant resistance, that battery becomes entirely depleted. One evening, you will inevitably encounter a moment of emotional stress or simple exhaustion after a long day. You will tell yourself that you are only going to have one small piece of chocolate or a single handful of chips. But the moment that hyper-palatable food hits your tongue, a massive biochemical explosion occurs in your brain. The extreme restriction has hypersensitized your dopamine receptors, making the food taste unbelievably euphoric. Your brain releases a massive wave of pure pleasure neurotransmitters, driving you into an uncontrolled eating frenzy. You consume thousands of calories in a single sitting, desperately trying to satisfy the screaming biological void. You eat past the point of comfortable fullness because your survival instincts are terrified the famine will return tomorrow. When the binge is finally over, you are immediately crushed by a suffocating wave of guilt and shame. You look in the mirror and falsely believe that you are weak, undisciplined, and entirely incapable of losing weight. You promise yourself that you will completely starve yourself tomorrow to undo the massive damage of tonight. This creates the darkest and most destructive cycle known to modern medicine, the endless binge and restrict loop, the insulin rebound effect. What happens inside your body after a massive post-starvation binge is biochemically devastating to your metabolism. When you flood a starving, severely depleted body with thousands of highly refined carbohydrate calories, your pancreas panics. It rapidly pumps out an enormous volume of a storage hormone called insulin to manage the massive sugar spike. Because your metabolic rate has been deeply suppressed from weeks of starving, your cells are completely full. Your body has absolutely zero immediate use for this sudden tidal wave of incoming biological energy. Insulin only has one job, which is to clear the sugar from your blood and lock it away into deep storage. Because your muscle mass was destroyed during the diet, your storage capacity for glycogen is significantly reduced. The excess sugar has nowhere else to go except directly into your expanding fat cells. Your body acts like a highly efficient sponge, soaking up every single calorie and converting it instantly into new body fat. It is fiercely preparing for the next inevitable famine by storing as much emergency fuel as physically possible. This biological rebound effect is exactly why 95% of all extreme dieters regain every single pound they lost. And tragically, they almost always gain back significantly more weight than they carried before they even started the diet. Their metabolism is now slower, their muscle mass is smaller, and their fat-storing hormones are hyperactive. They have successfully dieted themselves into a much worse physiological condition than when they began their journey. How to rebuild a broken metabolism. If you are trapped in this exhausting cycle right now, you must understand that there is a scientific way out. You can completely heal your broken metabolism, but you must permanently abandon the starvation mindset forever. The first vital step in the recovery protocol is a process known to clinical nutritionists as reverse dieting. You must slowly and methodically begin feeding your body more high-quality calories every single week. By incrementally increasing your food intake, you gently signal to your hypothalamus that the severe famine is finally over. Your thyroid gland begins to wake up slowly, increasing the production of active hormones to heat up your body. Your core temperature rises, your natural energy levels return, and your non-exercise activity thermogenesis automatically upregulates. As you feed your body adequate energy, your chronically elevated cortisol levels finally begin to drop to a normal baseline. This massive reduction in stress hormones signals your biology to release the stubborn water weight and visceral belly fat. Your leptin levels normalize, signaling your brain that you are safe, which completely eliminates the obsessive food cravings. You stop thinking about food 24 hours a day, and the uncontrollable urge to binge simply vanishes. The power of nutrient density and muscle. To fully reignite your metabolic furnace, you must fundamentally change the precise composition of what you are eating. You must deeply prioritize the consumption of highly bioavailable protein at every single meal you eat throughout the day. Protein has the highest thermic effect of any macronutrient, which means your body burns massive calories just to digest it. More importantly, adequate protein intake provides the essential building blocks required to repair and rebuild your lost muscle tissue. You must pair this protein consumption with a dedicated and progressive resistance training program a few days a week. Lifting heavy weights sends a powerful mechanical signal to your central nervous system that muscle is required for survival. As you rebuild your dense muscle tissue, you actively expand the size and capacity of your metabolic engine. A larger metabolic engine requires significantly more fuel, which drastically increases your daily basal metabolic rate. You will suddenly find yourself capable of eating significantly more food without gaining a single ounce of body fat. Your body transforms from a highly efficient fat-storing machine into a highly inefficient calorie-burning furnace. You must also focus deeply on eating whole, unprocessed, single-ingredient foods that provide massive nutrient density. When you provide your cells with abundant vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients, your cellular mitochondria function flawlessly. Your body naturally finds its optimal biological weight when it is deeply nourished, properly rested, and physically strong. The final verdict. The human body is far too intelligent to be tricked by extreme deprivation and modern crash diets. You cannot hate your body into a smaller size, and you cannot starve your way to long-term sustainable health. Every time you try to force your body into submission by withholding food, your biology will fight back and win. True physical transformation requires deep metabolic healing, strategic nourishment, and a fundamental respect for your physiology. It is time to stop punishing yourself for failing diets that were scientifically designed to break your metabolism. Step completely off the scale, throw away the extreme restrictive rules, and focus entirely on rebuilding your internal health. Feed your body, build your physical strength, and watch how effortlessly the stubborn weight finally begins to fall away. This is the ultimate scientific truth about human metabolism that the billion-dollar diet industry desperately wants to hide. Take control of your biological machinery today by giving it exactly what it needs to thrive and survive.